Hi everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California. I don't think so. It's been this way for days. But anyways, weather's still good. It's just been cool. Gonna do a garden tour July 1st, today. I'm gonna start on my driveway garden. I hope all of you are doing great and growing something. I don't care how much you grow something. Celery, that's just a floating tote right now. I moved that around because I don't know where to put it. I was going to take everything out, and it's just got so much celery in it. I think there's a little Swiss chard or something back there. And so right now I've left it because the leaves are fantastic to use. And when I don't want it, I'll dump it out, compost everything, and do what I want to do with it. Got tomatoes starting. Look at that. I missed that. You know, this looks like Brad's. Look at that. I've got a lot of Brad's tomato seeds that have been falling everywhere and got composted, and now I'm getting them all over the place. Stuck a zucchini in the ground, and so far nothing, so we'll have to see. Our soil is very clay-like, and this has only had wood chips here for a couple weeks. They're really not that long because this is up against the wall, and there is no soil here. Gary said there's a footing that comes out about 6 feet. So there's nothing here, but I tried it. We'll see if it makes it or not. So I've got squash growing in there. Nothing in this one yet. That's something called a Cobra Pepper that I bought in the beginning of the year. So we'll see. They're just starting to throw flowers. Haven't set anything up in here yet. Debating on what I'm going to do. This is one of those movable compost buckets I made. And I can just sit it in there and build around it. I would put it a few inches from the bottom at least, or on the top, and then I would compost in here. And then there's holes all the way around it, and it would leach into the soil. And if you're growing watermelon or something, you'll be constantly feeding it. So I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do there. Potatoes, just potatoes I had, and a lot of times you'll see I'm walking through and it's like, what is that plant? They're coming up from the potato skins. And so I grabbed the potatoes, and now I've got flowers, and hopefully I'll have potatoes in there, and I haven't looked yet. But if this works out the way I think it's going to work out, I'm going to have many totes with potatoes. I have not bought potatoes, since March maybe. This is a tomato plant that shouldn't be there actually. Kind of got shoved back there and disappeared. I'll have to move it. Just coming up, and I'll find a place for it and sit it somewhere. And then this whole thing running along here, I believe, is a kabocha. My watermelon are starting. I really don't need to cover them anymore. I might trail them up and trellis them, so I'm not sure. Those are those little tiny sugar baby watermelons. Moringa's coming up in flower pots. And then this is just from the pepper tree. But this is that Cobra Pepper plant. I don't know what it is. It just said Cobra Peppers. Doesn't have any peppers yet. Oh, yes, I have a pepper. I didn't see that. I wonder, so it gets bigger. And Cobra, does that mean it's a nice, sweet pepper you can just munch on? Not with that name. I don't know. Oh, my goodness. This is true. I was here yesterday, and the Malabar Spinach was short like that one, and I thought, please do what I want you to do. My theory was, and I can't wait, I'll do a full video on this. This is that shoe rack that my granddaughter was cleaning up her bedroom, and she texted me and said, you want that? And I said, yes. And I stuck it in here. And I have way too much Malabar spinach in there. I planted a couple. They look too little and skimpy. So I planted a couple more, and they look too little and skimpy. And I kept doing it. And then they all started to take off. But look. It's going to do the winding on its own. Oh, my goodness. This is an okra, a seed that my daughter gave me. She said it grows massive okra. And down here, I don't know what they are. So this will be interesting. I had a bunch of seeds that were very, very old, and they didn't look good. And I threw them in there. There were some watermelons and cantaloupe. I can't think of what else there was. And I thought the seeds were no good, and all of a sudden they started to grow. And if they grow, they're from like the 1980s. So we'll see. But look at this. So my hope is, and I guess it's going to work, the Malabar spinach is going to curl up and just coil up and go up, and then I don't know what I'm going to do. But right now, this is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. Oh, that's so cool. I'm excited. There is the kabocha. Really good fruit, which is interesting because there's a green one, and on the same vine, there's a yellow one. So I'm not sure. They could be hybrids. It is my own seeds I collected. We bought it at the grocery store, years ago. These are older seeds. And we've planted them before, but that's the way they're supposed to look. But they're really good. You bake them up and they taste like sweet potato. The dogs go crazy. They can smell it baking in the oven or roasting and they want it. So that's what's going on here. Oh, there's more fruit in there. Look at that. Then I've got this thing called a Goliath. I have no idea what a Goliath tomato is, but my daughter bought some from somebody online, and she said they sent her extra, and she had no place to put it. So I don't know if the plant is giant or the tomatoes are giant, but that's what's in there. So I'll have to clear a lot of these leaves off because there's a lot of powdery mildew. See, and I know there's a lot of things you can do. People have told me you can wash it with milk and all that. The issue is the weather. We've been cold and damp. My friend told me the other day we were going to get into the 50s at night. And a lot of these plants, your squash, your zucchini, they really, really do like warm weather. That's when they just take off. They really like the warm weather. And we've been really cold. And I think this is really doing a toll on a lot of stuff. Not the tomatoes too much. They look a little wimpy, but it's really the cucumbers. They were so green and beautiful, and then when the weather got really damp, they really don't look good. So we'll see, but I'm going to plant some more. I've already got some new seeds started, and I'll plant some more as time goes on. There's another tomato plant back there. Let's see, that's a cucumber plant back there. This tomato plant is the one that's growing in the rocks here. So it doesn't have much soil. It's in the ground. It was here. Look at the size of the tomatoes now. It was here when I put the tote here. So when I water the tote, which has got the kabocha growing down there, it leaches out through the holes. I should say it runs out because I directed the water to go to that tomato plant that was already there. That was about that big. And now it's massively full of tomatoes. I just have to stake it up a little bit better. There's no place to stake it. So I have to make my own stake or use Gary's because, like I said, there's a couple inches of nothing there, because of the footing from the block wall, because this is a massive block wall. So it's got a massive footing. But all in all, it's doing fantastic. Look at this. I've been cleaning and collecting. That is gold to me because that is soil. And I am collecting that for my new garden I'm setting up. Okay. Is she crazy? Another garden? Yes, because I think that garden is going to be the best garden ever. I don't even want to get into it right now. I'm so excited on the new garden. The new garden, anybody can do. There is no excuse. You have gophers, you can do it. You have rats, you could do it. You have dogs getting in your garden, you can do it. You want to set up a watering system? More power to you. It will take you minutes to set up a watering system. I do not. It will take you literally 2 minutes to water the entire garden. It is everything I think anybody can set up. You could set it up in a backyard, on a driveway. You can set it up in a school. You can set it up in an apartment complex, and you could have a community garden going. I don't want to get into it because that's a video in itself. I will have it out this week. I'm putting it together. So let's go back to the garden tour. These, I think somebody asked me the other day on a different video what they are. They're purple peppers. I believe, let me see, I bought them also before the lockdown. There they are. And that's what they are. And I think there were two. They're around here in one pot. I got them at the 99-cent store. And they're beautiful. I normally have a big problem growing peppers. You know, I watch John Kohler. He's in Nevada, Las Vegas. And he loves his peppers. And peppers are his best thing. Well, because he can grow them so good because he's in the desert. Peppers really like warm weather. And as you can see, here in Southern California, there's a lot of times we're still damp, and they like it's warm. So what I did this year, and I struggle with it in my regular garden, is I decided since I was building this new garden on the wall, isn't that beautiful? I'm going to put my peppers here. Made a world of difference. Gary grew peppers in a dishwasher. Why did it grow so well? Because it held heat, and they need more heat than, let's say, tomatoes. So that's why they're doing well, because that wall stays warm. So you could do that up against a house. If you have a stucco house, same thing, same concept. It would work great. And that's just in 2 floral pots. There's holes on the bottom of both of them. And this way it can send its roots into the other floral pot. So it's like having a double-decker for the root system to grow. This is delicata, and I know that it's not happy with the weather we've been having, but the plant may be done because these delicatas need to come off today. You can store them for a couple months. They're not something you can really store for 6 months, but you roast those or bake them up and they're done. That's what they look like. They're ready to come off. And there's a couple in there and there's another one down here. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. I might take the whole plant out or I might trim it way back and see if it wants to make a comeback. So it's kind of got hit by the weather, but at the same time, it's produced and Mother Nature told it, hey, you did good. You produced something. You're on your way. So we'll see. See, it might be trying to make a comeback, but I've got so many seeds, I might start it over. Walking onions in the back. Oh, that's my 2-tier set. Yep. See, that's where I can compost. And maybe I should do that. Throw some color leaves and stuff back there and then water it really good. I also rot a lot of leaves and I water it and that feeds it. But I do know the weather's done a toll on that and the cucumbers. You can see the cucumbers were so green and we have a lot of cucumbers on there and I've been picking cucumbers as well, see? But the problem is it's just doing a toll on the leaves. We have a little bit of leaf mina going on. I don't worry too much about leaf mina, but I do know it is the weather, but we are getting cucumbers. So we'll see. See that one too, same problem. There's cucumbers down there. Oh, there's a real big one there with a small one. Look at that. I'm going to make pickles and another one on top. And I'm also starting, I'm going to start a lot of new stuff. And then of course we've got the squash down there. These totes are 18-gallon ones. So it's really the smallest ones you can get. Truthfully, I probably have too many plants because I have to make sure I feed them well, which is rotting leaves. It's got enough kitchen scraps in there. I've got the 2 system in there. All I have to do is dump in there, which I haven't done, in the flower pot that I just lifted. And it would help feed the plants and keep them going. But really for totes, to have, 2 cucumber plants. I see 3. I have 3 cucumber plants in there. I think there's a short one coming up back there. 2 delicatas. That's 5 major plants. I would have been better off to have, let's say, just the delicatas or just the cucumbers and then have smaller plants growing in there as well, like, let's say, parsley, lettuce, things like that. Smaller plants that won't have such a massive root system. I've got 5 in there with a massive root system. So is that wrong? It's wrong. It worked. It doesn't matter. It worked good enough for me. Lettuce, look at this. I've got beautiful lettuce growing up here. And then I've got celery coming out. And these are little lettuce. I can move them. And then a red vein sorrel and a weed, which is sow thistle, which you could put in a green drink. All right, so you've seen all that. We've got squash. We finished up with all the radishes. You saw me plant that up, so I can plant something else in there. I do have a Brad's back here. So I'm debating I might cater to that and put something on top. Because this is a true Brad's tomato, because I actually bought that seed, planted it, and stuck it in there. So I might cater to that and let it grow up. We'll see. And then, of course, like I always tell you, I've got the holes there on that pot, and it waters that one, and I've got way too many plants in there. But that's okay. I've got a cutting from a purple tree collard, so I could pull everything else out at any time. Tomatillos in there, celery in there. Like I said, way too much. I didn't see that yesterday. I'm cutting leaves, and I didn't see another zucchini. I do not want to leave them that big. I think I'm going to make a lot of stuff. I've been making a lot of pickles out of zucchini, and to me, that's my favorite over cucumbers now. And then, of course, zucchini bread, and I've got a couple other things I do with it, plus just fry it up and put it in eggs and put it in everything. So we have a lot of zucchini. You could store it, too, by freezing it. So we'll see. More peppers. All right. There's peppers there. I think this one, let me see if I have a tag on this one. No, I don't. Okay, I did have a California Gold, and it might be that. Also from the 99-cent store. I'm thinking that one is it. I thought I had a tag. So that's probably a California Gold. And then, of course, more zucchini. See, this would be more like ready to take off in a day or two, and that would be the right way. See all the powdery mildew? It doesn't really kill the plants. They keep growing and growing. And once the weather does dry up, we're just in July now, so our June gloom, as they call it, should pretty much be gone. But I have seen it go into the first week or two of July. Then the leaves will come back and look bright and green. On a hot day, 100 degrees, there won't be a big problem with that because they droop during the day, but then at night they pop back up. So I don't over worry about that. All right, so we've seen, and that's purslane coming up. I did not plant it, but we grow it, so it found its way in the moringa pot there. I haven't set that up yet. More zucchini. We have no shortage of zucchini. See how I trimmed back the leaves on this one? And see how beautiful they come back? I trimmed it really hard, so you can see where I took all the brown leaves off. And now it's doing a comeback. So that's probably what I'm going to do with a lot of them, except maybe the delicata I'll pull out. Purple tree colored, more zucchini, walking onions everywhere, garlic chives. Those are the Italian sweet peppers. We keep picking those. That is really, really good. And I've got a video up, I believe, or if it's not up, it will be up soon. The trick on how to collect seeds from a green pepper that's not ripe. I'll get that up if it's not there. Tomatillos, this is kind of stuff that I start seeds in because this is just too small. But it's good to start things in and then move them. This is my dill. These are in pots. And they're sitting in a pot in here, and that really helps it. So I might just leave the dill. The red celery, isn't that cool? And again, sow thistle, that's a weed, but I leave that for the goldfinches because they eat all that. I think I've spent way too much time on this wall. Also more zucchini seeds that I have saved that are hybrids, but you know what? They taste great. And then, let's see, celery in a bucket. I'll give you a hint on the buckets. Buckets are great to grow in. Somebody else asked me, do you ever use buckets? Oh, yes. The only problem with buckets is see how it's dropping? The celery's way down there. Let's see if we can get down there so I can show you. See down there? By nature, doesn't matter what you plant in, except for the ground, in containers, the soil goes down. The plant's using it, it compacts. A lot of things happen where the soil goes down. Well, if you've got squash growing, I have found, I've got a squash on the deck growing, it kind of gets tied up in a knot. It's like it can't push its fruit out like it can do there. And so it's really fighting with the sides. You would have to fill a bucket up all the way for squash. I think buckets are great for celery and tomatoes and all kinds of different things like that. But squash want to spread a little bit, and that's why I like my totes when it comes to squash, because they're going to spread. And they have more room. Even if you had 3 plants, which I have in a lot of these, which is way too many, they have more room to spread. So I think for buckets, and that's my opinion, you could do it whatever way you want, but I'm going to use buckets more for like tomatoes that want to go up. This is just a mess I've got to keep staking up. I made this stake. It's in a pot, and I had to get the tomatoes off the driveway because Gary said he was going to run them over. And that's one plant, and it's massive. And it's just growing all over the place, and we constantly are picking tomatoes off of that, so I don't want to hurt the plant. I love this plant. The tomatoes are great, and I don't know what kind. It's a volunteer. I love volunteers because they grew here, they like it, and especially when they're mass producing like this, and it's just spreading all over. Look how the clusters of tomatoes, and they're bright red. Isn't that beautiful? I've talked about this. We got some onion sets. In the beginning of the year or just before the beginning of the year. Well, there was something wrong with them. Gary brought them home and I looked at them. They were from the big box store. And we had a feeling they might have been last year's because they went to seed and they shouldn't. That's the second year. So I'm going to collect the seeds. That's actually a good thing for me. And I'm not going to buy any more sets. I'm just going to collect the seeds and grow my own onions, I think. I mean, I might buy some, but I would kind of buy them from Baker Creek or somebody like that, just so you know what you're getting, because they all kind of did that, and they did that in Gary's yard. I had a few onions that didn't do it, but most of them went to seed. So I'm going to collect the seeds, and I will have to put tulle on this, Tulle, because if I don't, it's now past the stage. I don't have to worry about bees pollinating it. They've all done their thing. If I don't tulle it, the birds are going to come in and pull out. There's a little black seed in there, and they'll eat it. So I'm going to just drape some tulle over it. I can even clump them together, but I can't cut it off yet because the seeds are still pulling nutrition off the plant. It's still drawing, it still needs to mature. The seeds have to mature right so they'll grow right. So I want to leave them on the plant, cover them with tulle until they start to dry out and it starts to die back, and then I'll cut them off and then I'll collect the seeds. Basil. If I don't get to my basil quickly, I'm going to lose it. See how the leaves are starting to curl? Because it's gotten so many flowers on it. And once the basil plant gets a lot of flowers, it says it's done. And that's not a good thing. When it's done, then it's done. And then you'll have to plant over, and I've got a lettuce in the back going to seed, and some purple tomatillos back there that came up. Oh, just started some carrots in here, and yes, I soaked them, but I not soaked them. I put them in a plastic bag, started them, and then I spaced them out nicely, so they're just starting to take off. I don't think they like the cool, damp weather either. And this is supposed to be a pepper. It just doesn't look so pepper-like to me. That's what it says. These are weeds. Probably pull that out. And then I moved this, was the tomato plant that was by the front door. And I decided to move it here because I think I'm done with this wall right now. I just have to finish the chair down there because I'm excited to get to the new garden. So I moved it here, and let me tell you something. Now that it's getting a lot more sun, because at the front door it was getting like 3 hours of sun a day, it's just taken off really good. And these are midnight snacks, and you eat them just as they turn a little red. I don't think there are any. See, that's not ripe. But you eat them, they get a little, there's some up here. These are older ones. This is when it was by the front door. It wasn't growing right. See how they turn red? So they're black and red. And I think there were some better ones on yesterday. Gary ate some. And they're doing really good. But this was on the big wooden chair by the front door. Moved it onto this chair. Got some more totes. Walmart delivered. And I believe this will be it for the driveway. I will maintain this. There's a whole lot here. But I want to do other things. So I'm done with this. And then I've got I planted, see this purple basil? It's getting too much shade. Look at that. Had a piece of turmeric that didn't look good. So I stuck it in here. And guess what? It's good. And then I've got chamomile growing in here, which I should move to a sunnier spot. And then there's some Swiss chard in there. Okay, I think we've spent so much time on the driveway. Let's go quickly through the front yard. Here we are in the front yard. And I haven't done much. No, I haven't done anything new. Everything is growing good, what's already been here. And then my daughter gave me a pumpkin, and I guess we're getting pumpkins. It kind of went across that tote through this way, and I've got little pumpkins. She insisted I needed pumpkins. We're talking pumpkins, like jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. Not something I would plant. She wanted me to take a pumpkin plant, so I've got a pumpkin plant. Red vein sorrel, that's the purple tree color that the deer ate down. It's already grown back. The last of the beets, I don't even remember. This is some sort of collard. All the celery. See the celery seed? It just blew into these pots with soil in it. Even a red vein sorrel. I didn't even see that. Look at that. I don't have to worry about running out of red vein sorrel. I don't even use that much, but the seeds grew in there, and I don't have the heart to pull it out and compost them all, so I'll find the place for it. My blueberries are back there. I'm thinking of moving them. They need really more room than that, so we'll see. Again, more celery. There was, oh yeah, this is, it's not doing well. I think it's just, again, it's not getting enough sun. This is a broccoli, or a broccolini, and it needs to be moved. There is mint all the way around. I use the flower pots, or let's say floral pot. That's not floral. Let's say flower pots. I use that so I can put my stakes in here. See how I put the stakes in there? So I've made, you saw this. This is from last year. It's over a year old. That's the tool from over a year old. And I can keep the squirrels out of there so nothing bothers my squash plant. And the pots here, it's better off if I show you here. See, I can put my stakes in a flower pot with soil in it. That's why I have mint. I'm really not happy about that baby red tail here. I don't want to get into that right now, but I'm not happy about it. So if I shut the camera off and run, I'll tell you why later. All right, so I use this to hold my stakes in it, and then I can do things with it. It works really well because, again, this is all blacktop with just wood chips put here. Okay, he's going that way. He better go that way. All right, he went down. Baby hawks are not my favorite. As beautiful as it was to watch the Cooper hawks, red tails and even the baby Cooper hawks are not my favorite. I'll tell you real quickly, I almost lost Kitty yesterday, and it tried to grab her off the deck, my balcony where my garden is, it missed, and it must have hit the deck hard. She ran in the house and hid. We couldn't find her for an hour. She was fine. And then the hawk took off and went to the other side. When they're babies, they have no concept of size, and they don't know who to grab. I've actually seen this happen in the past, where they grabbed a full-size rabbit and they just grabbed it and dropped it because they couldn't carry it. And that's what scares me. When they're adults, they understand what they're supposed to go after, and they understand size and weight. So they don't grab anything they can't grab. And that's what makes me nervous, but he left. I'm hoping that the parents come and they park him here because there's a lot of squirrels and stuff around. So they leave their babies here and they come back and check on him and then they leave. But I would like the baby to move on somewhere else. So we'll see. Anyways, so there's zucchini. Now you've heard my story. There is more zucchini growing in there. Again, this is the tool from last year. I haven't even changed it. And it's doing so good, I'm going to leave it. There's a little hole there. Probably I did it by watering and stepping on it. But this is really pretty much the same. And then I've got pots going all the way around with walking onions, mint. Pretty much that's it. I see some purslane growing in there. Again, I didn't plant it. I put a little geranium down there. So we'll see if that grows. And what else is there? Oh, and then here I can pick my onions. So I do have some onions here. Lots of chamomile. I want to pick some and dry some for tea and have that. And I want to get a lot of the seed heads off and plant them in here because I only bought it once and it reseeds itself. So it's done really, really well. Haven't done anything in here. It's just a celery that came up and I haven't done anything. And then, of course, the mint all over the ground. It can't really take over because if I grabbed it, you could pull it out since there's no soil here. It's just wood chips and it's very shallow. So I can't really grow in the ground. And that's it. So we've got dinosaur kale, and we had a lot of broccoli heads. And yesterday, Kitty got a lot of broccoli. There's a little tiny piece left because I was so happy to find her. Oh, all right. So we're done with here. I think you've seen enough here. The flowers are coming up, and the hummingbirds love it from these plants. I did not plant those plants. They came with the house, and we left it. And now that I've got some blueberries in the center, and I water it, it just keeps going to flower. So that's beautiful. So without water, they don't flower that well. It's kind of it's a succulent, but when you hit them with water, they flower real good. All right, purple sprouting broccoli. These are all cuttings in here. And I don't know if I really want to grow anymore. This is just a small pot, okay? On another pot that's got walking onions around it, and then the sprouting broccoli inside that I just stuck in there and it sprouted. The problem with the purple one is it grows like a tree, and they only throw purple broccoli once a year. So you can use the leaves, but to me, there's so many other things I could grow instead. So I'm going to have to think about it. And then I've got the bricks here. I'm going to tear all this down because, yes, the tool has seen its day. A lot of it is good. I might save the pieces to wrap around fruit and things, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. And I want to, pull this plant out because I don't want to put dinosaur kale in the bricks. I want to keep it like that's green sorrel and maybe more garlic chives in here and all the walking onions. I have tons of walking onions and keep that in there. And what I do is I put flower pots in there. So I want to pack it with some hard packed soil, clay soil, mix with leaves and stuff, and then I'll put in the flower pot and I'll plant in there, and then I'll put up a whole new fence, and I think I'm going to do it in black tulle this time. This was hunter green, but I believe it was hunter green, which is a dark green, but it faded over the 2 years, almost 2 years, a year and a half, I think. I can't keep track of time. It's either a year and a half to 2 years old, and it kind of faded, and I think black would look really cool here, and it's something different to do, and I ordered a lot of black tulle. I don't own the company. I don't know anything about the company. I don't know the people, but they did contact me to say, hey, we got your hunter green back in. They thought I was ordering black because they didn't have hunter green, but I actually ordered black because I wanted to try it, and I was really happy with it. All right. So I said I pulled it out. You know, I pulled it out and put a tote here because I was going to plant it up again, and Walmart comes and delivers my groceries in there. So I said to Gary, that's a good idea. You know, whatever they can't fit in there, they just put here. So I'll leave it right now and plant later. Because right now, see the trees? We had an opportunity to have them pulled out for free, and I didn't want to. I think they're beautiful. One had to come out a long time ago, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, because it was leaning and they were afraid it was going to take out the power lines. So they took the one tree out. There was a tree over there. I just think they're beautiful. I remember when they were only 5 feet tall. And they offered to take this one out, and I thought, no, I kind of like it. So they went ahead and left it. And it does shade the front yard, but I like the looks of it. It makes it really look like a cabin here. So I don't know. I mean, for free would have been nice, but I decided I wanted it. This year, I wasn't planning on really doing squash, but there is one squash in there and it's flowering. I'll leave the squash in there. I'm going to do all tomatoes in the rest of it, and I think it should look really, really good. So I'm going to do tomatoes in here, and this tool is from last year, and I'm going to leave it. Peppermint. Very good and easy to grow. All right, now my table. I've got ginger. It's had its issues, but I think it's going to make a comeback. I've had a pack rat get up here again last night, who loves to take pieces off. So we're trying to clear this area, and I might put a little piece of sheet metal or wire in the back because I've seen they come up over the top, and they don't want to eat it. They want to carry it back and make a nest out of it. So that's been a problem. I can move it, but we're going to see if we can get rid of them that way first, and if they don't, I'll move it. But all in all, I've got my ginger growing. This is black turmeric. See the black turmeric? It's got a black stripe. This has done really well. I only had that little piece. And then this is all regular, the orange turmeric. And then all the ones that look like this is ginger. So I haven't had to buy any ginger. Well, I didn't buy any ginger this year. I haven't gone to the grocery store. And then, of course, my stevia in the back. I did complete haircut on this. And that one took it way, way back. And it's coming back beautiful. This one was in the house and brought out earlier and came back first really nice. So it just cut it back and it came back. Remember, it does die back completely in the winter. But in the spring, it comes back and it looks beautiful. So that's the table. Now let's go into the main yard. Now we're in my main garden. Look at that. Spaghetti squash, walking onions, green sorrel, lots of spaghetti squash. Wasn't thinking when I planted this and it wants to leave. Look, it is loaded with spaghetti squash all the way through, but the plant wants to leave. I've trellised it up on tulle, which is kind of working. I just don't have the tulle put up good, but there is just so much, even kabocha in here. Look at the size spaghetti squash back there. Gosh, that thing is massive. It looks like a watermelon. I think I would have been happier if I would have put just zucchini in here. See, it gets a little bit of powdery mildew, but you can just trim those leaves off. If I would have had zucchini, it would have stayed in one spot. When you get plants like kabocha, it's leaving. See how it's leaving? Or spaghetti squash. And I think that's going to look really good. I'm going to let this go and climb all over and do its thing. And we'll go from there and see what happens. So all in all, I think next time I will do zucchini or cucumber, because I don't really in this yard want it to wander so much, because it wants to go all over the ground and then I won't be able to walk. But it's doing really good. I mean, really good. It is loaded with squash in there. So we'll see as time goes on what I'm going to do. There's a broccolini back there, oregano back there. Oh, my poor tree color, the one I want to cut. Did a whole video on this. I think the rats got to it the other day. And that was my fault. We've got a lot of trees here. They've been doing weed abatement. And when they do weed abatement, it drives critters to places where they can hide. And this garden is like a jungle. There's no doubt. It's a food forest jungle. So what I did, and it did help, is I threw tulle over it. So they didn't touch it at all. And I trimmed all this out. It was all lemon verbena, and it was growing all over everything, and some of the dinosaur kale. So by opening it up, now they're going to be afraid to come out in the open because you've got owls at night. And of course, as you can hear, the hawks flying around. So by opening things up, that alone can help with pest control. So we open that up and we trim back some of the avocado tree that was hanging over. And I think it's going to help. I'm going to eventually take it down. I could top it right now and start over because the trunk is too tight and it's not growing. It's staying skinny. That was the cutting I believe I got. And then where the cutting was, it took off and widened up. But it will be just too top heavy and it won't ever grow right. but by cutting it and starting it over at the right time with the right wood on the branch itself, or the cutting, it will grow better. So we'll see what happens. Right now I've covered it and nothing's bothering it. So that's the story on my purple tree collard. In like 3 days it's changed. Dinosaur Kale, and of course you've all seen that. That's just those upside down planters. So many of you ask me, where do you get these? I have actually seen them for over $100, and let me tell you, they're not worth it. I've seen them for $100, I've seen them for $150. I don't even think the company makes those anymore. Got them at Walmart for under $5, and there's really no space to grow anything. They're really not deep enough, and I add in floral pots or flower pots on top to get a little depth to it. A $5 tote will give you a much better garden no matter what. These, of course, are bigger. They're like 30 gallons, and you can plant a whole lot more in them. So you can buy those, and they're a lot more money than the $5 totes are only $5. So you'd be much better. This is nothing to get a $5 tote in a chair. What is it going to cost you? $10, and you've got a beautiful upside down garden yourself. I wouldn't even call them upside down. You would have the most beautiful garden with a tote and a chair. All in all, everything is the same here. The lemon verbena has, gone to seed. It's got flowers. The bees love it. There's no bees right now because we're cold. We are cold. I'm going to say we're about 60, and they're not quite out. They're just going to start coming out. The sun's not out yet. And it's 10 o'clock? So it's cloudy. It's cold. But all in all, everything is doing really good. I haven't gotten to that. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it this year, or I put some soil in there and threw some walking onions in there. I might use the strawberry tower to go around and catch all these baby walking onions, which are everywhere. See, here's all this will grow. There's 2 onions right there and a third one trying to grow on the end. If I can leave it, I know it got damaged and broke, see? But it's still feeding off the mother plant. These 2 could come off, and I could plant these right now. If it can stay a little longer, then that third one will grow. Not like I need that little bit, but when I collect it, if the third one gets a little bigger, it will grow. This is the purple sprouting broccoli. See how that's one plant. This is all one plant. Everything you see with these purplish leaves, all through there, this is no joke. This one that's going all the way up, this one that's going all the way over there, this all over the ground is all one plant. That's why I don't know if I really want to plant anymore. It's snaked around, one plant out of there. It's split off, it's one plant, took off everywhere, and I could clear it out and redo it or leave it. The bees are just starting to come out now. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. I've got so many gardens going. I mean, as it looks right now, some of you may say, oh, it looks like a mess. Let me tell you something. I've got all the green food I need here. And the birds absolutely love it. We have brought in hundreds and hundreds of birds. I've got a video that nobody's watched. I have a video on all the birds that come through the garden. I should put a link to that. I went through every single bird, and I could add more to it now. I think I did that last year on the birds that come here that I have never seen before. It's unreal, the birds that come through here, because of the garden, the way it's set up. They've got food. We put out seed for them. And then, of course, they've got their water features. This one's electric, but these are all, solar, and it's just starting to burp. The bees like this one because of all the rocks. And those haven't started yet. Oh, that one up there, the bucket's starting to burp. All the birds come here and they drink. Some of them only come for water. Some of them come for seed. Some of them come for insects, which is really good. I use 0 pest control, any pesticide at all. I don't worry about a few holes in a leaf, like the purple tree color with that. There are countries where people only, when they go to the stores, they look for leaves that have little holes because they know that that means it's organic, and if the insects will eat it, it's healthy for them. I don't worry about that. You just wash it and cut it up. There's no insects on it anymore. If I go over there and check that plant that's got a hole, the insects are gone. While I was talking to you, I know you might have heard them, the bush tits came in. They come in by the hundreds, and then they look like insects. They're so tiny. They just cover all the plants. They come in their groups that they're in big flocks. They cover all the plants. They don't stay in one place long. They stay for about 5-10 minutes. They cover the plants, they hang all over upside down, and they eat as much as they can, and then they all leave at the same time. It's so funny, but they don't bathe that way. They bathe by one bird at a time. Look at this. I'm standing here, I should say, and there's a goldfinch, and that goldfinch is going to eat the greens, which they're also doing. They're eating a lot of the greens, so it's not so much insects for them, and there's some more goldfinches there. So they come in, and one at a time will bathe, and they'll hang out here, and it's like they want to make sure it's safe. So they'll bathe one at a time, and then a whole bunch will come in and bathe and leave. It's kind of like, safety in numbers. So they start with one. It's like, okay, our buddy didn't get eaten by anything. It's time for you to come in. It's so funny. And then they all come in, bathe, and then they all leave. So I like it like this. So I'm doing different gardens different ways this year. So this is going to be like a food forest. I do like it that way. I've got all the walking onions, all the mint in pots all over. That's chocolate mint. That's orange mint. There's strawberry mint back there just because I have it. I don't like the taste. We've got geraniums. They're real pretty flowers. Some pansies back there. More pansies back there, or black-eyed Susans. Eggplant, I should uncover that. A lot of plants don't like being covered. And when they touch, it's really interesting, but when they touch something, they stop growing, I've noticed. So I think I'll just leave this here and put that away. Because it seems like it will touch it and they'll slow down in growing. So that's time to uncover it. It was real little when I put it there. And then, this is not real. This is silk flowers because I have it attached to my solar fountain, which we want to get rid of that mint. Because that mint will cover the panel and then it may not go, so it will help it go. And that's it. So then I've got a lot of this is spearmint on the bottom. And now this I did tear apart and start over. I didn't take anything out. I just cleared it all out, freshened it up. A lot of leaves, a lot of seed heads that I put in here that were let you see up there. Chopped all this off. I leave a lot of it for the birds because the birds eat that. And I piled it in there and put some potting soil on top. And now I've got a tomato growing in there. That came up from seed, so it's some sort of collard. More tomatoes back there with tomatoes on it. More tomatoes here. Left this because it's sculptured so nice. That's a dazzling blue kale. That's about 10 feet tall. So I like that. So I kind of sculptured it. And so that grows in that pot that's cracked in there. And then I've got, that's a sprouting broccoli under here, which could be uncovered at any time. It's not touching the side, so I might leave it. I only threw that there because it was laying on the ground, this screen. But it is protecting some of the seeds that are coming up. I didn't plant them in there. It's probably coming up from the collards. See the collards dropping seeds, and then they're falling in there, so those are volunteers. And kind of clean this area up a little bit. I changed it around. That's oregano. There's a geranium. That geranium's in a pot, so I can move it anywhere I want. And remember, layering is so good. It's just sitting there. You see the earthworms? Plants themselves love when you layer them like that because earthworms gravitate to pots. And just by having pots like that, the earthworms come. And then, of course, earthworms are droppings and everything. Earthworm poo, as people call it. The plants love it. Probably what's making this thing grow so big. So I love the layer, and it holds water. So I don't have to water every day. When you layer, it holds water. Let's see. Didn't get to that yet. Got some stuff coming up, but I didn't get to it. And then celery. I can't get to everything. It's impossible, or we'll be here for 3 hours. Okay, so this here is my lemon balm and just things coming up. Celery that reseeds. There's a sweet potato that came up from my compost. I left it. We'll see what's in there. Walking onions, tomatoes. Now this I did plant, but again, I believe it's a volunteer that got moved. And then again, more walking onions. So it's doing really, really good. There's Kitty's garden back there, still up against there. More sweet potatoes. Again, it came up, see it's a flower. It came up from the compost, the way I compost in place. And then a lot of walking onions. And this is all chocolate mint in here. This in the front here, it's got a different leaf. That's the strawberry mint. It sure smells good, but I sure do not like the taste. And then this I want to still all clean up. I might move some of it to my new garden. We'll see. Because I've got a lot of walking onions in there. This I want to compost and take out. This is just big old, look at that. That's just old Swiss chard, and the trunk on it is like that big, and you don't need it like that. Sage and well, like I said, that's that. Okay. Celery. All that celery straight in the ground, straight in the clay. It's not particular, so that's really, really good to know. Let's see what's in here. Cleaning this up over here, I have so much red vein sorrel that I'm going to pull a lot of it out. There's a lot of new plants growing through here. Thin out the big plant, clean it up. I don't want things hiding in it. I don't want squirrels or rats or anything hiding in it. So if you leave it too bushy, that's what you end up with. If you clear a lot of the bottom off, they don't have places to hide. So I want to clean this out. Plus I want to get maybe a squash in there and maybe some tomatoes. I'm not sure. Maybe some more eggplant, maybe okra. And let's see, what do I have back here? The little purple tree collard back there, and then there's one down here, so we're just starting here. My lemon verbena now has been cleaned up because I cleared all this area, so that's growing really good because that was so little. And this, I'm trying to trim and making a sculpture out of it, but look at this. The goldfinches are going, ooh, new fresh growth. It tastes so good. They love eating the green leaves. Plus there's tons and tons of baby goldfinches everywhere. And that's what they're doing. They're eating all my greens, but that's okay. There's plenty. I'm not worried about it. Eggplant. I'm getting ready to fry some eggplant or bake it. Look at that. And I've got more in there. Now look at that. That's my old one. So that eggplant's a couple years old. Those are the new ones I just planted, so that should be really good. So this is going to be eggplant, walking onions. And this is, let me show you this. This is a Dazzling blue kale I planted it in 3 tiers. A big flower pot, a medium one, and then a smaller one. Piled it in here. This thing got so big. I don't know if you remember it from the last garden tour. It took off and it went all through the trees. It was hanging over the fence here. I went ahead, it was so hard to do it, and chopped it off and tied it to the stake so I can direct it where I want, since the stake was there anyway, so there's 2 stakes there. I don't even know why they were there, but I'm going to use them. They're in the ground already, and that's why I put the purple tree colored here. Tied it to the stake with yarn, and yarn lasts a year or 2, and now it's growing all new up and beautiful. Isn't that cool? So that's what I did with that. And this keeps it open and I can walk back there because I'm going to have to clear out this tree collard. This tree collard is way too big and it's breaking. It is breaking. Look at this. It's going to have to go very, very soon. It's fallen over here. I can get tons of cuttings off of it. I don't need that much tree collard. I'm trying to do more purple now too. But it just goes way up. Thing's about 15 feet tall. I was hoping this thing was going to root, but I can't seem to get it to root. Keeps growing new shoots, but when I check it, it won't root, and I wanted it to root. I could actually lift it. That's a way of doing it. And try not to break it. If I can lift it and drop it in a big tub, I don't know if it's worth the effort. And then cut it up in places, slice it up and force it to root, that may work. But maybe I'll end up just taking it out and planting something that I want. Those are 4 o'clock. Those are flowers. So I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. Didn't do anything in there. I haven't done strawberries. Normally, I would have a lot more different things growing because what I really do like to do, and those are all seedlings coming up. Let me walk and talk at the same time. Another bird feeder, so this way they can hang out in here. The birds and the hawks can't get them, and they can go in and out of the wire. Normally, I would not just be planting my own seeds, but I would have gone ahead to the nursery and picked out some different plants to grow too, including strawberries. And this year, with the lockdown, I really haven't left the house. I have not gone into a store since March 13th, Friday the 13th was the last time I entered a store. Everything now I'm buying online. And yes, I know I can buy seed starts or plant starts from people because my daughter's doing that. She's buying everything. She's buying everything, all kinds of stuff. She went nuts with gardening. This is somebody that wouldn't garden all these years, beautiful backyard, wouldn't garden, and now she figured out how important it is to garden. So she is gardening big time. So she is buying all that, but I like to go in. It's the browsing and looking around. I'm going to set this up. It's an old tote I had, and I'm going to put a hole there. So when I water that tote, it's going to water this moringa, and this moringa should fill out really, really nice. You'll get water, and look at the tomatoes. Let me keep walking and talking because we're pretty much done back here. So, oh, there he is. Baby red tail. All right. See, and I'm trying to train this up here. So I would have a lot more varieties. And because of that, I'm not going. Is it worth it for me to go out to look for varieties? Maybe not this year. And to be perfectly honest, listening to the news last night, there's a ton of the virus going around right now. And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. You know, Gary goes out, which he did this morning, and then he just comes home, cleans up really good. He literally strips down. He has a place he puts his clothes and takes a shower, and that's the way he goes out when he has to go get something, like he goes to the post office or if he has to go somewhere. And he doesn't go anywhere sometimes he doesn't go anywhere for 2 weeks. So right now I'm going to wait. I'm just going to do what I can do and see what happens and use a lot of my own volunteers that are growing. I planted pomegranates. I need to do a video on that. So many of you have asked about pomegranates. These are my own seedlings all through here. So I'm planting my own plants. I'm doing my own starts, and a lot of my tomatoes aren't red. They've been mixed with midnight snacks. So I'm ending up with all these weird colored tomatoes. They're all good. They all taste good. Gary goes outside, eats tons of tomatoes all day, just keeps grabbing them. I grab them. So, you know, every year is different. And this year it's going to be mainly on what I can just, I guess you would say, grow out of the yard or grow from seeds. And I've been doing a lot of seeds this year. Okay, you've all seen the papayas. And yes, we're getting tons of papayas. Wrapped it up so the squirrels will stay away from it. But we are getting more papayas than we ever thought in a million years we would get. Want to set up these totes here. And yes, people have said, is that a papaya in a pot? That big papaya? Yes, but let me tell you, the roots have left. They've gone through the bottom of the holes in the pot, and they're all through here. But the pot is good because I only have to water the pot. I don't have to worry about soaking the ground. There, that one busted right through, and we watered that container next to it. He's got a lot of leaves piled in there, but I think I'll take some of those leaves. I'll spread them out. And each of these totes that are there, these storage containers, they've got holes, and when I water them, the leaves break down, create their own compost tea, and they feed these plants. And papayas need a lot of food. So they do need to get food somewhere, and their food source is usually their own leaves or other leaves around there, so it works out really good. So I want to get these totes set up, and then on the top, maybe I'll plant some squash. I have so much squash, I don't know what to plant. I could do tomatoes, we'll see. So that's basically it. Okay, now let's turn around and walk to the wall. Kind of looks like we're back where we started. Well, kind of, it's a circle. Going to get some more totes in here because I think this is, anything on the wall is going to be, I believe, a good winter garden. I'm going to probably get a lot of peas and different things growing there. It takes time. It's just the two of us. And this, I'm the only one doing this garden. Gary's got his own, so I'm the only one doing this. But I'm going to put some totes around the moringa and get that going. And then this was doing really good, and I think the cold weather's kind of hit it. But it grows such beautiful little eggplants. And Gary absolutely loves this. I just slice them up with some of the onions, just put them in a frying pan, just the eggplant onions, and he loves it. There's a purple one underneath. They're purple and white. It came up from seed, so I don't know what kind it is, but it's a really nice plant. I'm going to get some more totes in here, and that will also feed the plant. Again, remember, like I said, this wall is here, so there is no real soil close to 6 feet. Because there's a massive footing. It's whatever got piled there. There was wood chips. He built those wooden raised beds, I guess you could say, and we threw in some wood chips and stuff. But all in all, I think it's been doing really good considering there's no soil up against there. Here I went with totes, and this has been fantastic. I'm going to put some geraniums in the front of my totes. It makes it look good. I put that in there back, I think, in March, and look how nice that is. I don't have to take care of it. Geraniums here grow like weeds. So I can just line it up in the front and have some geraniums growing. And I just think it's going to look nice. And then again, the wall, I can put things in here for the winter if I want, because it stays warm in the winter. There's a big zucchini I've got to get off. And then I've got running plants. It could be kabocha. It could be, who knows, there's different ones, more spaghetti squash. Look how beautiful green this is. This one's not affected at all by the weather. Okay, it's some sort of Like a dumpling down there. I did have some dumplings. See, there's another one. Isn't that something? And I do know that some varieties don't mind the weather. You know, like you've got that one struggling with the weather and that one not. Every plant is an individual, and that one does not have any effect by the weather. So there's no, actually, if you look, as far as powdery mildew, there's really very little, if any, powdery mildew here. It is more open, and that could be, this is so open to the air that maybe it's drier in this area. Remember, microclimates. So it's not suffering from powdery mildew. So I'm sticking some geraniums, and there's a hole in the front. So when I water the tote, just come through here with a hose. It will water that geranium. Isn't that cool? And then more here, squash, and then I even put a tomato in there. So it's doing all pretty good. Oh, somebody gave him all this. They called him down the block and said, we found all these flower pots in our yard. Do you want them? And Gary said, oh, yes. And he went and picked them up. Here's his pond. He's setting up another pond. Oh, I'll show you something really cute in a minute. So this is all new. I think that's duckweed he's got growing in there. And then we've got, of course, that, and the birds have been using it. The Cooper hawks come down and take a bath in there. And all the birds, goldfinches come in. I've even seen hummingbirds go in there. Nothing's running right now because we have no sun. So as far as the solar, not yet. It's really cloudy. But I'm cleaning this up. I know it still looks like a mishmash, but it's going to be pretty good. There's a pomegranate back there I planted. Again, a seedling of mine. And there's one back there. And I want to plant this area up where it looks really good. Let me walk over here with you. I haven't taken you over here. This is all wild. We leave this wild. This is where the deer come through and the animals come through. Oh, yeah, they're tearing it up. I saw this the other day. They did. They chewed it up. It wasn't chewed up yesterday. Look at that. Okay, so something came in here. That looks like it could have been baby coyotes. There's a lot of coyote pups. This is a tomato plant that came up on its own. Wasn't even sure it was here. I didn't even know. And I walked over here the other day and see it's just coming out of the soil on its own. But nothing's protecting it. So as you can see, it did get chewed up in the middle of the night. And a lot of things hide under here. I mean, it's beautiful under here. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? All these trees. And then that's where Gary's garden is down there. This is just really, I've never taken you through here. Let's take a walk real quick. He's got a lot of cleaning up, Gary said, to do. So it's just really, it goes on and on. I don't want to go all the way back there. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I need some branches, but I don't think I want to go back there yet and get some branches. But this is just like a little piece of wilderness. Oh, there's the hawk. There's one of the babies. Let's see if we can look. So it took off. That was one of the hawks. I'm not sure offhand if that was the Cooper's hawk or the baby redtail. So they've been hanging around here. But that's just beautiful. And this is where I was sitting by the truck bed and the deer come through here. And you can see why. They can eat through here. The grass is all dry now. And this is what weed abatement is. They want everything cleared out, because of fires. And it's just beautiful. And it's just, you got tomatoes growing back here. And then you come under the trees, and there's been a lot of hummingbird. Let me get you through here. The hummingbird nests in here. I don't know where any of them are now. A lot of times the hummingbirds will take apart their old nests and move it. So it's just really beautiful. Gary planted the aloe vera through here. So all in all, I think it's nice to keep it just the way it is, and that's the way I want to keep it. Just the way it is. And that's it. So we've done my garden tour. There's a pomegranate tree. Again, I planted that from seed, and it's doing really good. No flowers on this one that I can see yet, and I don't really take care of it. I should water it. And then the truck bed, which is loaded with all kinds of squash in there. There's more squash on the other side. Oh, look at this. Look at this. That's supposed to be delicata. Doesn't look like delicata. So I don't know if it's a hybrid, and there's more squash back there. I don't know if it's a hybrid between delicata and spaghetti squash or delicata and zucchini. I don't know. I really don't know. This was found in the wood chips. It's got to go in the trash or recycle. I was digging around the wood chips and pulled it out of the wood chips. Gary said he used to find all kinds of stuff in the wood chips when they used to deliver it. And then let's see if I can get back here without falling down the hill. There's yellow. Oh, I love yellow squash. I had a package of seeds that were really old, and I tried a whole bunch of them, but only one grew. And you know what? One was good. So that tastes really good. I really like yellow squash. Just slice it up, put it on a frying pan with a little butter, and it's so good. What else is back there? And there's a big zucchini back there. Then I've got all the green Swiss chard coming up. I'm not sure what that is. There's a lot of potatoes come up because I put compost in here. Then I end up with potato plants. I like to pull the weeds and just drop them. And let me see if I can get back without falling. So I'm on the edge. On the edge. So that's it. I'm not sure what this is. That I know, but I mean that's Swiss chard. But this I'm not 100% sure. I can't wait for this to grow. This here is Korean melon, and I did save the seeds, and boy, those seeds are really good because they'll grow the next year, and they grow little individual melons. They're like kind of like a cantaloupe, and they're so good. So I've got that growing. They really like the warm weather. I had to think back and check back my old videos, and I believe they do really good. They start having all kinds of fruit to harvest in September and October because they like it when it's really hot. So I can't wait till they take off and grow. So that's it. And then the trees here are doing real good. I'm not turning around because I have my special garden I'm going to show. And I want to put that together so you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm not even going to show it. Not yet. Not yet. Give me a couple days. So that's it. So that's the garden tour for today, and everything to me looks the same, but you know what? That's one thing I don't have to worry about, going to the grocery store. I need no produce. If I miss anything from the grocery store, it would be mushrooms and maybe potatoes. Maybe, and that's a big maybe. That would be the only thing I think I would miss as far as produce. I ordered chicken, and I order a lot for the animals. And then I've been ordering totes, and that I don't know. But as far as produce, no, I don't need to buy any squash. I haven't bought anything really like that. Potatoes, I used to go and get 10 pounds of potatoes for $2. But I'm kind of funny right now. I don't want to buy stuff like that that's been handled. And mushrooms, I don't need it. Let's put it this way. Right now, with everything going on, I can wait. And hopefully I'm going to have my own potatoes soon. Gary just told me he's got a potato harvest he's going to be doing. And mushrooms, I've bought some canned mushrooms, so I'm going to use those right now. I know that there's kits you can buy and grow your own. And maybe eventually I'll get some, but otherwise I can, like I said, I can live without it. So with that, I have gone through the whole garden, and hopefully you enjoyed this. This is an apple tree. This came off my deck. And it's in a flower pot that I've got there. And then I've got Malabar spinach. So I'm going to try to pull the apple trees out. And there's something else in there. Oh, that's celery. And get them planted. And whatever happens, happens. It's not important to me. I just don't want to. I don't want to compost it. It got so big so fast. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't bore you. I know it was long. And I'm going to get a whole bunch more videos up, and I'm excited about the new garden that I think anybody can do. So with that, have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody.